while we're watching this conflict be prolonged even further by the West, by sending these main battle tanks, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why? Is it to preserve Ukraine's sovereignty, or is it to maintain Ukraine as a national security threat to Russia right on its border? And the easiest way to figure this out, to answer this question, why are we prolonging this conflict? Is it right to prolong this conflict? All you have to do is flip the script and ask yourself, if it was Russia overthrowing a government in, say, Canada, right on America's border, we saw Russian politicians in the streets, on stage with the opposition in the middle of violent protests. We saw members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wandering in the streets, handing out cookies to the protesters. They installed a client regime that answers to Moscow into power. And then they begin changing the laws, eliminating the opposition, shutting down opposition media, and ensuring that the very worst elements in Canadian society were put up at the top. Voices of reason marginalized or shut down entirely. And then the Russian military just comes into Canada to begin training the Canadian military, bringing in Russian weapons to arm them, and all to prepare for an eventual armed conflict with the United States. Would the U.S. put up with that right on their border? The answer is absolutely not. They wouldn't put up with that, not for a moment. We already look at Russiagate, which was a complete fabrication, and we look at what the U.S. has done to Russia in the midst of an entirely fabricated incident. Imagine if Russia was really doing that in Canada, right on America's border. So this is what the U.S. has actually done to Russia in Ukraine. They have done all of these things. I was showing you the headlines on the screen, and those headlines, the articles will be in the video description below. You could go and see for yourself. This is the Western media admitting this. This isn't the Russian media making claims. This is what the Western media admits that the U.S. and its allies have been doing in Ukraine from 2014 onwards. So this is not about arming Ukraine to defend their sovereignty. They lost their sovereignty in 2014. They cannot fight the Russians to regain their sovereignty because Russia is not the one who took it from them. It was the United States. And if Ukraine wants its sovereignty back, it has to take it back from the United States who took it. That is reality, and that is what we have to remind ourselves every time we see the West escalate further this already very regrettable conflict.